Hi, welcome to another Fingernail Fixer video. I've been getting some requests to show more detail in cuticle work as well as what a before and after looks like. So let's get into how you would do a brief mini manicure for a gel polish or C&D shellac service. We can start off by shaping. Ideally, you want to use a 240 grit for the natural nail service. When you're using a 240 grit, you can gently go side to side because a 240 grit will actually seal the edge of the nails. You can find this information in the books from industry scientist Doug Schoen. If you have a file that is lower than a 240 grit, it will actually shred the edge of the nail just a little bit, which can lead to some peeling and delamination. So if you are not in charge of ordering supplies for the salon and you have no choice but to use something lower than a 240 grit, go ahead and do your shaping side to center in one direction to avoid shredding that edge of the nail plate. Otherwise, if you're able to use a 240 grit, you can actually go ahead and use the file back and forth because it's sealing that edge for you. Something that's important to do is gently run the file under the free edge to make sure we don't have any fringe that's going to be sticking to the polish that we apply. This is also the correct procedure for a regular nail polish manicure. Next, we're going to apply the cuticle product. My personal product of choice is the C&D Cuticle Away. Make sure whatever cuticle product that you're using, that you are using it per the directions. I'm going to just place a small drop on each nail, making sure not to touch the nozzle to the nail or the skin to avoid contamination. Then using a pusher tool, smooth that product over the entire nail plate because cuticle actually grows over the nail plate. It's pulled out with the nail itself. So if we were to only spread the cuticle product around the back, a lot of times what you can end up with is those little pieces kind of sticking up in your polish. So let's do this one as an example. We'll just put a little bit of cuticle product at the back and not spread it over the entire nail. We'll just use it at that very back edge of the nail so that we can see the difference. And then on this nail, just so that you can see that there's cuticle out over the entire thing, let's just push a little bit really gently with just a pusher by itself. And you can just slightly see some little remnants that are coming up with that pusher when you gently push. And those are your cuticle. So the cuticle is out over that entire nail plate. We need to clean that entire nail plate with that mini manicure before a polish or a gel polish service to ensure that you have good adhesion. With the specific product that I'm using, by the time you apply it to all 10 nails, it's going to be ready to go. Make sure you know how the product you're using works and that you are leaving it on for a sufficient amount of time. The idea of doing cuticle work is to lift and separate the cuticle from the nail plate, not to aggressively push back the proximal nail fold and eponychium along the back. So we're just gently sliding the pusher back towards the proximal nail fold, making sure that we're not pushing the proximal nail fold back. Once you have lifted and separated the cuticle, you can gently run in circles along that proximal nail fold to separate the cuticle and get a smooth transition. We'll go slow again on this one so that you can kind of see it coming up. And you're just working your way from one side to the other. And I generally go one side to the other and then back across to pick up anything that I might have missed. then circles across the back to separate the cuticle from the proximal nail fold. And let's do one nail salon speed. So in this one, if I were actually working in the salon, I would come in and just work my way across one way, work my way back across, go in circles across the back one way, go in circles going back, and be done. It's completely your choice. In the salon, if you like, you can leave the cuticle product on to go around the edges with a curette. A curette is a small scoop-shaped tool. As you'll see, it's got an opening on one side and then a small hole on the other. The open side of the tool needs to be flat to the nail plate. If you have it to the nail plate at an angle, chances are good you're going to scrape the nail with your curette and not really pick anything up. So as you work your way around the nail, you can use that curette in circular motions, almost as if you're massaging the skin around the nail plate. Then I like to go from one side to the other to just kind of feel if there's any cuticle I've left behind. Because if you're keeping your curette flat to the nail plate, you'll be able to feel any cuticle catch. So regardless of the shape, style, or brand of your curette, it's important that that open face is always flat to the nail plate. Let's go ahead and do the cuticle work along the back of this little guy. And remember, we're not doing the cuticle work on the entire nail because we want to see what happens if we only do the cuticle work at the back. Now, one thing that will be different is if this is a regular guest, when they are coming back in every 2 weeks, every week, or every 3 weeks, whichever their schedule is, we would only need to do the regrowth area. However, if someone is visiting your salon for the first time, you want to make sure that you're doing thorough cuticle work over the entire nail plate. Now, just to make it easier for you to see what's coming off, let's just wipe the excess cuticle remover off of this nail. That way you can see what the curette is actually doing. Going around the edges, almost as if you're massaging that skin around the edge. There's cuticle coming up out of those sidewalls and the corner. It likes to hide in those sidewalls and corners, and the curette is kind of your little power tool that allows you to gently ensure you have all of that cuticle picked up. Can you see that cuticle that's coming out of that corner here? See that excess that got left behind? So by coming in with the curette, you're making sure that you have a nice clean nail surface to apply your product to. It's going to be very, very important that the surface of the nail is clean so that you have a great adhesion, and so that if you're applying regular polish or gel polish, you have a nice smooth application that doesn't have any lumps in it. In the salon, I like to go ahead and leave the product on to save time. So if I were doing this nail salon speed, I would work my way around with the curette in little circles, and then work the curette around the back edge to see if I feel any catches. And I can feel a little bit of a catch right here. So I would just come in and massage it until I stop feeling it catch. Because anytime you feel the curette catch, it's trying to let you know that there's still a little bit of cuticle there. And there's a pretty good chunk in that corner. So I'm just going to gently work it until I stop feeling the curette catch on that little chunk. When you've finished your cuticle work, depending on the brand of cuticle remover that you use, you may need to use a little bit of water or soapy water to remove the residue and deactivate the product. It's important that you know which of these are required for the product of your choice. The C&D cuticle away needs to be removed with a little bit of slightly soapy water. Notice there weren't any suds when I sprayed it off. This means there's just a little bit of soap, enough to thoroughly clean the nail plate, because the water is what's doing the deactivating, and stopping it from continuing to break down the soft tissue on the nails. Let me see your other hand real quick. If you hold these side by side, you can see the difference in the cuticles that have been cleaned up off the nail and those that have not. I hope this helps you out with your cuticle work. At this point, you would go ahead and use your nail cleanser and dehydrator to prepare the nail for your manicure service. Happy salon work!